Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shawn Neumann, the chair of First West Credit Union's Board of Directors, and it is my pleasure to welcome all members and guests to our 2021 Annual General Meeting. I would like to begin by acknowledging the land on which I'm standing and hosting today's event from is the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, including the territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We are grateful every day for the opportunity to live, work, and play on these lands that they have taken such great care of. You may have noticed that we're beginning to make acknowledgements of the land a regular thing we do at First West, and if this is new to you, it's a small gesture of reconciliation upon which Canadian society has embarked. So this evening we've put together an interesting and informative meeting for you, and so with no further ado, I do declare this, First West's 12th Annual General Meeting, officially open. So the notice of meeting was sent between April 1st and April 23rd to all members of record as of November 30th, 2020, in compliance with First West Credit Union's rules and the Credit Union Incorporation Act. And we do have a quorum. We have 130 voting members online and 22 guests online, therefore meeting the minimum requirement of 25 members present and having a quorum. So given that, I declare this meeting to be regularly called and properly constituted for the transaction of business. Throughout this evening, I'll be raising a number of items which require you, our members, to vote using the technology provided within the online meeting. So just to get started and to ensure you're comfortable with using the voting technology, I'd like to do a little practice run right now. So please note that if you are viewing the AGM in full screen mode on your web browser, you'll need to leave the full screen mode in order to see the voting screen. So I'll just give you a moment to do that if you need to minimize your screen. And our practice question to start out is a tough one. Are you a First West Credit Union member? And the correct answers are yes or no. And if you're not, we'd like to talk to you about that yet. So if you could vote on that. And while you practice your voting, we're going to show a short video that tells a story of one of our community causes that we're proud to support this past year in our Valley First division.
Lead Well is the name that we've given our social vision here at Valley First. And really what I feel that means is that we make giving back to our community a top priority.
Many years ago we applied for First West Foundation funding, and they support a program called Breaking Bread. We serve lunch and provide programming to seniors in the community, right from card games and puzzles to health checks. Since the middle of March, we haven't been able to provide that service in quite the same way, so we've been trying to offer different events and programming that still keeps them separated and safe, but provides that little bit of emotional support. It's super important.
The White Valley Community Resource Center is, I think of it really as a social net that takes care of all of the people in this community.
People who might be struggling and need help with finding a job or mental health concerns, addictions, problems that they're experiencing in their family units, White Valley has services that we can provide.
I'm so proud that I get to help on the credit union side, but I also get to show up and help on the board and just watch that impact that they make in our community in a very real way.
I believe that everybody wants to make a difference in their life, and that's the place to do it. You might not see it immediately, but you make differences in people's lives.
Great, and thank you for voting. It seems like we have a good number of members with us here tonight. And today we do have members attending from every First West region, from Vancouver Island, from the Lower Mainland, and from the southern interior of the province. Welcome. Our full board of directors is online, along with many members of our senior leadership team and employees. Thank you for joining. And I'd also like to thank the special guests we have online this afternoon. So to assist with the orderly conduct of business, I've appointed Robin Babcock, recording secretary, and Barinder Sidhu as our parliamentarian. And turning to the rules of conduct, I would like to draw your attention to the rules of conduct, and they were included in the package that was available for download on the meeting registration page. And please note that only voting members are entitled to ask questions and vote at the meeting. So we will have time after the formal presentations to entertain questions from yourselves, from membership. And also please note that we have no ordinary resolutions to be voted on at this meeting other than the usual ones related to the approval of the auditor's report and the appointment of the auditor. No other resolutions were submitted under the rules of the credit union. And lastly, this AGM is for general membership business and not for dealing with personal issues. Personal matters may be addressed with your local president and their leadership team, and they'd be happy to support you with any issues that you might have. So I have a motion from Richard Hill, seconded by Jeff Dick, to approve the rules of conduct. And I'm going to ask you to vote on that. So please vote when you see the motion appear on your screen. And again, while you're voting, we're going to play another short video that tells a remarkable story of how the team in our Envision Financial Division partnered with one of our business members, Coast Abbotsford Hotel and Suites, to provide free accommodations to healthcare workers during the early days of the pandemic.
The first case in Fraser Health was the 17th of March. And as soon as it started to go, I think it was a bit of game on.
You know, this was a big deal. COVID-19 hit the world, and everyone was impacted greatly. We were hearing about healthcare workers not being able to go home to their families because they were on the front line, and we were thinking of ways that we could support them. And so I phoned Andy Martins, who owns the Coast Hotel here in Abbotsford. Would you be open to partnering with us if we could pay for some rooms for some of these healthcare workers? Andy was absolutely on board, and so then we cascaded all the information out to the healthcare workers at the hospital, saying, hey, if you need a place to stay, just go to the Coast Hotel in Abbotsford.
Well, we've had nurses, physiotherapists, doctors, you know, some of them stayed for one night, some stayed for longer. It all depended on their circumstances. Our occupancy obviously was way down, and, you know, we were able to do this, and for Envisions to step up was great.
As healthcare workers, we sacrificed our personal safety, but we also, in these cases, that people that had to stay away from their families, they sacrificed a lot else. So to be able to be supported in making all those sacrifices, I think is really important.
Our whole reason for being is to serve our members. We're a cooperative, so all of our profits go back into the communities, and this is just a unique way that we thought we could help out during this crisis when everyone's looking for ways to help.
Thank you. The motion on the rules of conduct is passed. And now to the agenda. In the email we sent with the link to this meeting, we also provided a link to the agenda, and that meeting package included an agenda. I have a motion from Ken Voth and seconded by Daryl Kropp to approve the agenda. Again, I ask you to vote when you see the motion on your screen. And this time, while you vote, we're going to play a video that tells the story of one of our business members in our Island Savings region, Rhino Labour, and how they quickly adapted to the pandemic conditions. So please vote.
Rhino Labor started 15 years ago. We supply people to construction, warehouse, light industrial. What we're here to do is help people find full-time employment, or we're filling the gaps where people may have jobs. They may be looking for spots to fill in here and there. We cover the workers' compensation down to the T4s, so they are our employees. We've had a lot of success. We've grown from 1 office to 3.
As a business advisor with Island Savings, one of the things that makes me unique in my role is I'm actually able to go out on site to get to know our business members. We have meetings in their offices so we can see how their business operates, be able to work together so that way we can find that perfect balance between operational and banking needs.
What's always been important to myself and Rhino is being treated like a person and not a number. When I came across Island Savings, they've done that for us and work with us.
He's a local business owner, lives in the West Shore, and him and his family are contributing a lot to our community.
As things are changing with COVID, we're evolving as a company.
I approached them with some solutions about how we might reduce the exposure. So one of the solutions that we have been working on is the utilization of e-transfers, which is a faster process. It reduces the need to have close face-to-face contact. With the auto deposit feature, makes it easier for the associate to get their pay, and also creating more capacity for the staff and still maintaining those physical distancing requirements through COVID.
Thanks to Island Savings, we don't have to have them come back into the office that day. We can e-transfer right to your bank account. They're continuing to offer us solutions and ways to be a more streamlined business. We are becoming a core certified company. Safety for our associates, for our internal staff has been paramount for Rhino. It's been a no-brainer to follow along and incorporate that into every aspect of Rhino business. When we send people out the door, it's not just to send people. I want them to know that our people are going to be wearing your shirt, and that therefore our slogan, people you can depend on. We care about your business.
Thank you, and the motion on the agenda passes. So last year, the First West AGM was held online on June 17th, and the minutes of that meeting were included in the meeting package. If there are any corrections to those minutes, please let us know by entering a note or by clicking the Ask a Question button, and we'll address it during the question period. So with that, I declare the minutes approved as circulated. So there was no business arising out of the minutes of last year's AGM and no unfinished business. So we will now proceed with our reports. And I'd like to begin by asking Director Kathy McIntyre, the chair of the Nominations Task Force, to give us a report on the 2021 Board of Directors election. Kathy, please unmute and share your report.
Thank you, Shawn, and good evening, everyone. As chair of this year's Nominations Task Force, and on behalf of my fellow task force members, Richard Hill, Shawn Neumann, and our members at large, Joy Playford and Jen Temple, it is my pleasure to offer you an overview of the task force's work this year and to review the election process. The Nominations Task Force is a subset of our Governance and Nominations Committee. It is made up of 3 directors and 2 non-director members at large who bring objectivity to the director candidate selection process. Thank you, Joy and Jen, for your time, expertise, and diligent contribution. This year, the task force was also assisted by an independent company that aided in the search for qualified candidates, checked references, and conducted additional interviews. Our job as a task force is to seek and endorse candidates who have the right mix of specialized skills and experience necessary to oversee and steward the credit union's business on behalf of the membership. This year, the terms of 4 directors expire at the conclusion of this AGM. We also had a vacancy on the board owing to a director who resigned to assume political office. On December 14, 2020, we issued a call for nominations that outlined the skills, experience, and diversity that would be beneficial to attract to the board given changes in our market and evolving strategic direction. We also informed members that diversity is an essential element in attracting high-caliber directors, maintaining a high-functioning board, and building competitive advantage. When nominations closed on January 19, 2021, 2 directors confirmed they would not be seeking re-election, and 10 candidates submitted nominations papers. After a thorough candidate interview and deliberation process, the nominations task force endorsed 5 candidates. It's important to note that endorsement is not a popularity contest. The task force works hard to remain impartial and objective. Incumbents, for example, are not automatically endorsed. They only receive endorsement if their skills and experience remain relevant to our market needs and First West's strategic direction. Following endorsement, all candidates were then asked to consider their endorsement status and declare whether they would remain in the election. Although not required to, the candidates who were not endorsed subsequently and voluntarily withdrew their candidacy. This left 5 candidates for the 5 available seats. There was a vacancy on the board owing to a director resigning with 2 years remaining in their term. In the credit union rules for First West, Rule 5.7, Terms of Different Lengths, provides that if there is an election by acclamation, the respective terms for the elected directors must be determined by the chair or be determined by lot. It was decided the 2-year term would be determined by lot. As a result, the following candidates were declared elected as at-large directors by acclamation for a 3-year term expiring in 2024. Deborah Buzzard, a new candidate based in Kamloops; Archie Campbell, a new candidate based in Ladner; David Letkeman, an incumbent based in Abbotsford; and Balraj Mann, a new candidate based in Langley. Daryl Kropp, an incumbent based in Abbotsford, was elected by acclamation to fill the 2-year term expiring in 2023. Congratulations to all re-elected and newly elected directors. I trust this has been a helpful overview of this year's election, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have during the question period. Thank you, and back to you, Shawn.
Thank you, Kathy. Congratulations once again to my fellow elected and re-elected directors. I look forward to working with you for another 3 years. And I want to point out that because this year's election was settled by acclamation, we didn't have any voting. And usually, when we have an election, we make a charitable donation based on the number of ballots we receive. Even though we didn't have a vote this year, we decided to continue the donation and increase the amount, given the enduring challenges our communities we serve are facing. So I'm pleased to announce that through this year's democratic process, we gave $7,500 to our signature causes, the Full Cupboard in the Envision Financial and Island Savings regions, and Feed the Valley in the Valley First region. So on behalf of the credit union and my fellow board of directors, I would also like to express my heartfelt thanks to our outgoing directors, Riaz Devji, who served for 3 years on the board, Renee Merrifield, who served for 4 years, and Wayne Becker, who served with us for 15 years. Each has made a lasting contribution to our credit union, and we're tremendously grateful for your leadership. And personally, I've really appreciated working in partnership with you over the last number of years. So when we came together for last year's AGM, I was confident that the pandemic would be in the rearview mirror by this year's AGM. I'm sure you were as well. Unfortunately, that's clearly not the case. And while it's been a challenging time for everyone, I do feel proud of what First West has accomplished and hopeful for the future. So when I reflect on the past year, there's a key phrase that I keep coming back to, and the phrase is, adversity does not build character, it reveals it. The COVID-19 pandemic and First West's response revealed many things about our credit union's true character. It revealed that our commitment to helping our members and communities thrive, it isn't just a slogan, it's a core conviction that compels us to act. So amid a period of adversity unlike anything you or I or the global financial service industry has ever seen, First West has responded with thoughtfulness, with generosity and confidence. The board and I continue to be inspired by the way the credit union has navigated this crisis. We were in a position of financial strength and stability going into the pandemic, and we continued to be strong and stable today thanks to the prudent guidance of our executive leadership team, the dedication of every employee in the organization, and the ongoing choice that you, our members, make to entrust First West and its divisions of Envision Financial, Valley First, Island Savings, and Enderby and District Financial with your financial futures. The challenges of 2020 demanded both resilience and creativity. First West stepped up with ample quantities of both, addressing members' most urgent needs. We provided financial relief to our hardest hit members. We expanded our telephone and email accessible member advice center. We enhanced our already strong digital offering, and we rapidly enabled access to the Canadian Emergency Business Account for business members. We ensured safe in-person branch banking experiences across our branch network. So our unwavering commitment to cooperative values also compelled First West to increase support for local, nonprofit, and charitable organizations that serve the most vulnerable in our communities, some of the most hard hit during this pandemic. In the face of the pandemic, when many organizations were forced to pull back on their commitments to community organizations, we gave more. And as you'll soon hear more from Lonnie, First West stood strong with its community partners. Not only did we honor our existing commitments, but we created new ways to give back through a COVID-19 Community Response Fund and innovative member incentive program in support of our local business members. In all, First West gave back more than $3 million in 2021, bringing the total funds invested in our community causes to $28 million since our inception in 2010. The list of accomplishments is long, and Lonnie will be sharing more details about those in a few minutes. Suffice to say, I could not be more proud of what First West has done for members and communities in 2020. Perhaps even more importantly, I've never felt more hopeful for our credit union's future than I feel today. The pandemic revealed that the path First West is on to become a federal credit union is the right path. Our mandate as directors on First West board is to ensure First West is agile, adaptable in the face of accelerated digital disruption of financial services, ever-changing consumer behaviors, and sustained and new competition. As First West faces these mounting pressures, it's now more important than ever that we take action to define future on our terms. And we believe that federal regulation is one of the keys to a truly flourishing future for First West. So for several years, the Board of Directors has explored scenarios related to the credit union's long-term strategic direction, including becoming a federally regulated credit union. So after extensive research, due diligence, and important conversations with members and our employees, we are unanimous in our belief that applying to become a federal credit union so that we're no longer constrained by provincial barriers is in the best interests of members, employees, and the credit union as a whole. So even at this early stage, we've seen evidence of the possibilities in federal regulation. The work we've been doing to prepare for federal regulation has helped us as a credit union withstand the challenges of 2020. Specifically, the buildup of liquidity and capital, the process improvements, and the investment in digital infrastructure and technology. All these things have fortified our credit union, shoring up our strength against difficult times, and allowing us greater flexibility to respond to the needs of our local communities and members. Our members did not have to wait for us to catch up in a time like this. We were ready when members needed us the most. So now we need to keep a good thing growing by becoming federally regulated, continuing to strengthen the foundation that supports each of our local brands. We hope that you share a tremendous sense of pride, as we do, that we are growing responsibly and thoughtfully, ensuring that we give back to our members and communities along the way. So for me, First West's ability to become a federal credit union is personal. I opened my first account at this credit union when I was 8 years old with my grandmother. I was a young adult. This credit union gave me, as a young adult, this credit union gave me a small loan that enabled me to start a small business and pursue my dreams even till today. And I believe that First West becoming federally regulated will help ensure that my 2 children, even future grandchildren, will have the ability to choose this credit union to support their dreams and steward their financial lives. I really do want them to experience a values-based financial institution that cares for its members and communities. A cooperative that's there for them when they need it the most, just like we were there for our members this past year. I am confident that with our long track record of acting locally and caring for members and communities, First West is ready to grow beyond our provincial borders. We're excited about the future of our credit union, but we need your support. Later this year, we're going to share with you the reasoning and the risks to becoming a federally regulated credit union, and we will then ask for your support to join us by voting yes on our special resolution to keep First West's Good Thing growing as a federal credit union. The board and I are committed to ensuring our credit union is resilient today and ready to grow for future generations. We expect further adversity in the years ahead as we continue to navigate the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. But this makes me hopeful for the future, knowing that the actions we take today can enable us to withstand economic instability or disruption like this and be able to support our employees, our members, and communities no matter what. So thank you to our members for your support in helping us build this type of credit union. Thank you for your faith in us and for your unwavering support as we continue to look forward to and to chart First West's future. Lonnie, over to you.
Thanks, Shawn, and good evening, everyone. I wish I could be with you in person tonight. However, I'm grateful that technology enables us to gather virtually. 2020 was a year like no other. For so many of us, the challenges we faced tested our personal resilience and sharpened our focus on what matters most in our lives. As Shawn noted, 2020 also revealed in new ways what matters most to First West. Our cooperative values and our relentless belief in our core purpose. We call it our why, which is to help our members and communities thrive. So when spring arrived last year and our credit union, along with all of Canada, was plunged into a season of adversity, we showed up. We were there for our members, for our employees, and our communities. At the beginning of the pandemic, the term pivot emerged as a buzzword to describe how many businesses rapidly redefined themselves and adapted to a world turned upside down. Here at First West, though, we didn't need to pivot when COVID-19 landed on our doorstep. In fact, the pandemic demonstrated to us that the path we were already on was the right one. It validated our 2024 strategic plan. It proved that our vision to provide an unrivaled member advisory experience and our ambition to become a federal credit union were more relevant and urgent than ever before. Through the 2020 year, we focused on accelerating key components of our strategy. We were already prepared to continue providing you, our members, with expert financial advice and world-class banking services. We'd already built a solid foundation, so we were ready for you, to help you, to respond from a position of financial strength and stability. We were able to act with confidence, knowing that we had the capacity to navigate this prolonged period of uncertainty. You didn't need to worry about us, and we didn't need to worry about whether we had the resources to support you when you needed our help the most. This is a testament to years of hard work and prudent management from our credit union's board of directors and dedicated employees. It is also a direct result of the preparations we've been making in anticipation of becoming a federal credit union. And so when our members needed us most, we showed up. When the pandemic brought sudden, unanticipated personal financial hardship, we made it possible for approximately 3,800 members to accelerate and access what we call our Back on Track program. This program provides financial relief in the form of a payment reduction or deferment, coupled with ongoing advice from our team of experts to help them get back on their feet. We were among the first credit union in Canada to offer the federal government's CEBA loan to business members, helping more than 3,500 members. We were also quick to partner with Export Development Canada and the Business Development Bank of Canada to provide small and medium businesses access to additional financial relief. I am also proud that our earlier decisions to invest in banking technology enabled you to conduct day-to-day transactions securely from the safety of your home. Because of the pandemic, many of you embraced solutions available through our digital banking platforms for the very first time, whether it was checking your account balance online, paying a bill digitally as opposed to at your local branch, or using Deposit Anywhere to deposit a check. You may have even met virtually in a video call over Microsoft Teams with your advisor. By providing you these options, you can engage with us in the way that is most convenient to you. Through the year, we also added new digital enhancements, often in the matter of months, or in some cases, just weeks. For example, we accelerated releasing new features in our digital banking platform so members could make deferral payment requests, apply for Canada Emergency Business Account, CEBA, loans, or make Canada Revenue Agency direct deposits safely online. We removed deposit holds on tens of thousands of accounts to ensure many of our members had instant access to their funds when they deposited checks at ATMs or with Deposit Anywhere on our mobile app. We also fast-tracked our e-signing technology for personal and business lending documents to enable members to sign from the safety and comfort of their homes. It's not just about providing you the technology, but supporting you in using it by offering advice, education, and encouragement. For those of you with us tonight who would like to learn more about using our digital solutions, reach out to our teams who are here to help you learn. In the initial phases of the pandemic, when many organizations were closing their doors, we stayed open. By temporarily closing a few of our branches, we were able to redeploy our employees strategically across our network and ensure safe in-person banking options were available to our members throughout all of our communities. We mobilized 50 additional employees for our telephone and email accessible member advice center and extended its hours of operation. Through 2020, this group of advisors handled more than 350,000 contacts from members. And I'm so proud to share that just weeks ago, First West's Member Advice Center was recognized with 2 awards from the SQM Group, a leading organization in contact center practices. The first award acknowledged that First West has the highest first contact resolution rating in the banking category. The second award was for our more than 5% improvement in resolving member concerns during the first call. This is a shining example of our members first philosophy at work. Because of our infrastructure, we were also able to immediately reassign our workforce and secure work from home arrangements. In fact, within the first 3 weeks of the pandemic, more than 70% of our team members were working effectively to serve members and deliver critical business functions from the safety of their homes. Our ability to be there for our members is a powerful testament to our size and financial strength. As part of our ongoing efforts to safeguard our members' collective interests and protect your credit union's financial strength for generations to come, we had to do certain things differently. For example, we made the difficult but right decision to consolidate branches in communities we care deeply about. These consolidations meant change for some of our members, which I acknowledge can be truly difficult. However, I also believe that it's only through courageous transformation that we can refocus resources towards new channels, which will help us reach even more British Columbians with the power and possibility of cooperative banking. And that's exactly where we focused our efforts. We continued to produce real value for our members through advice, product, and service enhancements, all guided by our 5-year vision. We rolled out Google Pay and Samsung Pay across all our brand divisions. We introduced Finley, our artificial intelligence-powered digital assistant, who's available 24/7 to answer questions and provide guidance on navigating our websites and digital banking platforms. We intensified our concentration on building our expert financial advice capabilities by enrolling 120 of our personal and business banking advisors in the Personal Financial Planner Training Program, also known as PFP. This investment will give them an expanded knowledge base and a skill set providing expert advice in a wide range of financial solutions for you. We introduced the ability to view Calabria credit card accounts and transactions with an online banking and our mobile app, in addition to dozens of other enhancements, making these banking channels more intuitive and even easier to use. We increased limits for incoming Interact e-transfers. And lastly, we launched our EarthLink market-linked GIC, a world-class, environmentally responsible investing option for members. Another milestone was the completion of the major standardization and harmonization project that actually began back in 2017. This work, which made critical advancements to our internal systems, culminated in the harmonization of our banking system source code across First West. Because of this achievement, you can now bank at any First West branch, regardless of your home brand division. This will be hugely beneficial for you when you're traveling throughout the province, when that day comes again, or for business members who are expanding to other areas in BC. These are noteworthy accomplishments in a normal year, let alone in the midst of a global pandemic. Again, I'm so thankful for the way our team showed up for you, our members, and pressed forward to continuing to create value. As an employer, supporting our employees and maintaining safety and connectedness throughout the COVID-19 pandemic has also been an ongoing priority. Within just a few days of BC declaring a state of emergency last March, we responded swiftly to modify our branches according to health authority directions and to ensure employees could work and serve members in a safe environment. A significant portion of our branch and back office employees transitioned to a work from home setup, a feat we accomplished by leveraging our partnerships with industry-leading technology providers. Throughout the year, we were able to continue employee learning experiences by expanding virtual classroom offerings, and we introduced an enhancement to our employee lifestyle loan program, making it easier for employees to improve their home office or personal gym equipment, for example. We also forged ahead on internal projects that better position our credit union for future success. One notable example is the launch of our new enterprise resource management system that replaced and unified many of our human resources and finance systems into one fully integrated system. Previously, I spoke to our cooperative values and our deep commitment to our communities and how we showed up for them in 2020. We recognized early on that the pandemic would have an adverse effect on the already stretched charitable sector, and by the extension to those individuals who use those programs and services. So while many organizations were pulling back on their support, we chose to double down on our commitments and give even more. In total, we invested more than $3.4 million into our communities last year, a record high for our credit union. When the challenges of COVID-19 began to emerge, we saw the needs around us and responded with complementary housing for frontline healthcare workers in Victoria, Kamloops, Kelowna, and Abbotsford. More than $100,000 in responsive funding to local community and healthcare foundations. $500,000 in funding to charitable organizations focused on food security and basic needs for youth, families, and seniors impacted by COVID-19. $481,000 to help charities in our communities address the economic impacts of COVID-19 in their organizations. And $110,000 to our signature causes, the Full Cupboard and Feed the Valley, which support local food banks. Since 2010, First West has raised nearly $4 million and collected more than 194,000 pounds of food for local food banks. It's also a point of pride that at First West, it's not just about the dollars donated. We're a leader in leveraging our organizational resources, which includes the skills, talents, and passions of our employees, to develop creative initiatives that better our communities. Last year, employees contributed more than 4,300 hours of community leadership to more than 150 nonprofit and charitable organizations throughout BC, through things like board appointments, advisory councils, youth involvement, and frontline and operational support. Our teammates also rallied to support the YMCA of Okanagan Young Parents Program by contributing over 250 hours of volunteer time making handcrafted blankets, which were donated to 18 infants and toddlers. We introduced a new virtual program called First West Wednesdays, on which employees would share photos and comment on themed posts on Yammer, which is our internal social networking platform, all for charity. Through this initiative, more than $10,000 was donated to local charities and our signature causes. In the summer, our Get a Meal, Give a Meal campaign provided creative incentives for members to continue supporting local businesses and food banks. For each order of $50 or more at a participating member-owned restaurant, members received a $25 discount, and we also, on top of that, donated $5 to a local food bank. Our efforts helped to generate more than $70,000 in business for local restaurants and more than $8,000 for local food banks, which is a total equivalent to more than 24,000 meals for those in need. Then in October, our annual Make a Difference Days forged ahead as planned. We contributed more than 150 volunteer activities and more than 200 hours with charities in our communities, virtually and physically, where safety precautions were in place. I share these remarkable accomplishments with you, not to boast, but to encourage you. It's our members' ongoing trust in our credit union that enables us to give back so much. These accomplishments are your accomplishments as members. The COVID-19 pandemic is a storm we've all been weathering, and through it we've proven our strength and resilience, but also our compassion. 2021 is a significant year for First West. Against the backdrop of 2020's realities, we've remained intensely focused on our future. Our mandate is to ensure First West continues to be agile and adaptable in the face of accelerated digital disruption, ever-changing consumer behaviors, and sustained competition. As we continue to face these mounting pressures, it is now more important than ever that we take action to define our future on our teams by becoming a federal credit union, so that we can continue showing up for our members, for our employees, and our communities for generations to come. Our intention is to ask you, our members, to give us permission to become a federal credit union by holding a special resolution member vote this November. Over the coming months, we'll be sharing much more information with you about the reasoning and the risks. When the time comes, we ask you to join us in helping to keep our good thing growing by voting yes to becoming a federal credit union. As I hand the floor back to Shawn, I'd like to share with you a story that illustrates one reason why I believe becoming a federal credit union is so important. Moments ago, you heard me share with pride how we helped our members and communities thrive in 2020. Our ability to keep growing will enable us to do more for you, our members, more for our employees, and more for our communities. The video you're about to watch shares one such story about our commitment to giving back in the community and our desire to do even more. Have a look.
At Envision Financial and First West Credit Union, one of the things I loved when I started was that we were small and community-minded. As we grew and went through a couple of mergers, there's this instant like, oh gosh, are we going to lose that sense of locality, you know? But the opposite was true. The more that we grew, the more our ability to give grew. Supporting our communities is of utmost importance, and there's a lot of need and hunger within our local communities.
Food insecurity is one of the most pressing concerns faced by British Columbians today. Every single month, over 100,000 individuals and families access food bank services, and of those 100,000, a third are children. So the need is significant, and it's only increased since the onset of the pandemic.
The Full Cupboard supports food banks in the local communities. We, at the time, were given this big ideal and dream of raising $1 million within 10 years. And at the time, it felt rather lofty, you know, but we kind of got this group of people together that were up for the challenge. And here we are 10 years later, and, you know, it's a reality. Like, we did it, and we're still going. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Having access to healthy, nutritious food is a basic human need. Around who needs the food bank, it really could be anyone. And what the pandemic showed us was that more and more British Columbians are very vulnerable. The financial situation that many people face was, do I pay for food or do I pay for rent? With partnerships such as the one we have with First West, we're able to provide necessary supports that will meet the need of those communities.
I volunteer at the food bank. I get to sort food, and you know, I get to put it in the hands of those that have visited. It's incredible to have those moments and to know that you're supported by your organization to do that, right? Like, you get to go home at night and put your head down and think, I made a difference today. It's so fulfilling. There's just no other word for it. It's so fulfilling.
We've been living in some of the most challenging times that any of us can remember. But through that, what we've also seen is a spirit of community coming together. And that's represented in what the partnership that we have at Food Banks BC with First West.
It's really important that Envision Financial and First West continues to grow. And as the needs of our community continue to grow, we need to grow with it so that we can keep sponsoring that need.
We hope for this partnership to continue to grow. We've seen it grow over the 10 years, and that's resulted in a significant amount of food and funds being able to get to our food banks. Growth only means more for our food banks, and we know that the need will continue to be there. So with First West as a trusted partner, them growing represents even more growth and support for our food banks and the communities that they serve.
Today across BC, we've raised $4 million, 12 million meals. It's just incredible, just incredible. First West Credit Union and Vision Financial are looking to go federal, and that means wonderful things for the full cupboard. It means an ability to support more, give more, and help. And I couldn't be more excited.
Thank you, Lonnie. Next, I'd like to invite Tom Webster to unmute and review our 2020 financial results. Tom served as First West's Chief Financial Officer through the 2020 year and has recently stepped into a new role as Chief Treasury and Investment Officer. Tom, over to you.
Thank you, Shawn, and good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to review with you First West's 2020 financial performance. I'll start by drawing your attention to our 2020 annual report, which is available at firstwestcu.ca. There you can find the consolidated financial statements, our management discussion and analysis, and the governance report. Before we look at 2020 results, I want to acknowledge the unusual circumstances we have been operating in this past year. As both Shawn and Lonnie have noted, these have been difficult and uncertain times for us all. I'm very proud, however, of the way our credit union stepped up to support you, our members, and our communities amidst the challenge of COVID-19 pandemic. I'm equally proud of the admirable financial results we've achieved. First West enjoys a position of strength and stability, which we built up over years of consistently strong financial performance and prudent stewardship. Our financial strength gave us a solid foundation from which to navigate the challenges of the past year. Since our inception in 2010, we focused on strong operational performance. We've achieved strong earnings and steadily grown our balance sheet. What's more, the strategic efforts we've undertaken in recent years to prepare for becoming a federal credit union have further enhanced our resilience as an organization. Today's economic outlook is very different than what it was at this time last year. These continue to be challenging times, which is why we remain laser-focused on ensuring our member and employees' well-being are central to the ongoing strength of our credit union. Now, let's look at some of these financial results. Let me repeat, First West performed exceptionally well in 2020. We continue to build on the financial strength we've established over the past decade. Our balance sheet showed strong growth of $1.2 billion, increasing to $12.2 billion overall. That's an increase of 10.5% compared with 7.3% growth in 2019. Total retail and commercial loans to members in 2020 remained essentially the same as in the previous year's results, increasing $3.3 million or 0.04%, compared with 6.5% growth in 2019. This kept our total loans in 2020 at $9.1 billion. Deposits, however, grew $885.4 million to $10.5 billion, a 9.2% increase compared with 7% growth in 2019. Through a combination of positive net sales and market movement, our wealth assets under administration grew by $282.6 million, or 9.4%, to reach a total of $3.3 billion in assets under management. Moving on now to the income statement. In 2020, net interest income, which is our interest in investments earned on assets, less interest expense paid on deposits and borrowings, remained almost unchanged, decreasing $331,000 or 0.2% to $196.5 million. Profit from continuing operations increased to $48.8 million from $42.7 million the previous year. This increase was largely due to the increased investment revenue from our investment portfolio. Additionally, in 2020, we sold our Langley Regional Office building in preparation for moving into our new head office building here in Langley, called the Collaboration Center, which we moved into in February of this year. This resulted in a gain on disposal of $10.1 million. We also had a higher loan provision in 2020, which was partially offset by lower operating expenses. Profit for the year of $61.6 million was $26.6 million, or 30% lower in 2020, compared with $88.2 million in 2019. This difference was entirely due to First West's sale of insurance business in 2019, which resulted in a one-time gain of $45.4 million last year and a tax benefit of $12.8 million recognized in the current year. Now let's move on to operating efficiency, where we always aim to achieve a lower number, which indicates a more efficient business operation. Our operating efficiency, which is a ratio of operating expenses divided by your revenue, improved to 73.9% from 77.4% in 2019. Management will continue to focus on managing expenses prudently and growing revenue while ensuring the business has the capacity to grow and take advantage of opportunities as they arise. Turning now to our capital position, it's important to recognize capital is the key ingredient for the foundation of a strong and resilient financial institution. A higher capital ratio better prepares the credit union for unforeseen losses. This is particularly important now as we continue to navigate this period of economic uncertainty. After distributions, First West capital position is extremely sound with a capital ratio of 15.9%, well above the prescribed regulatory minimum of 8%. Our financial performance in 2020 enabled us to pay dividends of $858,000 to our members, bringing our total to $12.7 million since 2010. Dividends, however, are just one way we give back to our members. As you heard Lonnie share earlier, we invested more than $3.4 million in our community giving activities last year, bringing our corporate giving total to $28.1 million since 2010. Like Lonnie and Shawn, I am so incredibly proud of how we've stood with our community partners in 2020, not just maintaining our support for them in a time of need, but expanding it. Our strength through 2020 allows us to look ahead with confidence, but we know the future remains challenging for all financial institutions. In addition to the ongoing issues of the pandemic, the market continues to see tightening margins, intensifying competition, increased disruption, and digitization of services. These factors put tremendous pressure on First West to remain relevant, but year after year, we perform well despite the pressures. Behind our performance are First West's dedicated, knowledgeable employees who strive to provide you with unrivaled banking experiences, supported by a forward-looking leadership team and board of directors that take courageous actions today to enable long-term success. Every year for the past 12 years, I've considered it an honor to stand before you at First West's annual general meeting, sharing consistently positive financial reports that tell a story of steady growth and increasing financial strength. This is my final report as I take on a new role at First West as Chief Treasury and Investment Officer. My trusted colleague, Mark Moreland, has been appointed to the role of Interim Chief Financial Officer, and I look forward to hearing future financial reports from him as we continue working together to build a strong future for your credit union. As we navigate this period of uncertainty, our members can be confident we will continue to build our credit union's financial strength and provide industry-leading advice, service, innovation, and community leadership, now and into the future, whatever that future may hold. Shawn, back to you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for that report, and also thank you for your many, many years of strong leadership as Chief Financial Officer at First West, and appreciate your continued leadership in the organization. It's time to move on to the report of our external auditors. Today we have Jonathan Wong online representing our external auditors, KPMG. And a condensed version of the auditor's report was in the notice of AGM that was mailed to all members, and that, as well as a full version of the financial statements, is included in the AGM package that was available for download on our registration page. So I'd like to invite Meryl Corbett, Chair of our Audit and Conduct Review Committee, to present a motion to approve the auditor's report and a motion to appoint the auditors for 2021. Meryl?
Thank you, Shawn. I would like to draw your attention to the auditor's report on page 2 of the First West 2020 financials, which is available in the downloadable AGM package on our registration page. The auditor's report specifies that First West's financial statements give a true and fair view in accordance with the financial framework used in their preparation and presentation. If you have any questions related to the auditor's report, please enter them by clicking the Ask a Question button on your screen, and we will answer them during the question period. I hereby move approval of the auditor's report on the 2020 financial statements for the First West Credit Union.
Thank you, Meryl. That motion is seconded by Carol Barker. So we're going to ask you to vote on this now. So please vote when you see the motion on your screen. And once again, while you vote, we're going to show a short video about how one of our business members in the Valley First region responded creatively to immediate needs in the face of the pandemic.
We started to see things escalating day by day. I said, I think these mashes are going to be distilled for hand sanitizer.
When COVID-19 first started to emerge, one of the most important products that we needed was hand sanitizer in order to keep our employees safe and feeling comfortable to be at work. One of our commercial business banking advisors had suggested that we connect with Grant, who is one of our business banking members. We were able to make a large purchase from the Douglas Distillery to be able to supply Valley First, Envision, and Island Savings regions, all within our First West family.
We based our recipe on the World Health Organization standard, which called it hand rub, so that's where the name came from. One of the things that became increasingly difficult was to find containers. Spray bottles, pumps, they were just impossible to find. Well, we have glass bottles, so it just seemed like a good fit for us to use our gin bottle. We branded it under Noteworthy. Our design partner who designed our labels actually did our branding for the Noteworthy hand rub, so we wanted to ensure that we're doing quality as well. We donated a lot of hand sanitizer initially before we were selling it. And a lot of that donation came not just from us, but from other local businesses that gave us the glycerin, that gave us the hydrogen peroxide to get that product out there. The boldness and richness of our whiskey and of our gin, that's what sells our product. People aren't asking to try the hand sanitizer. We've always had great support locally. We have good partners like Valley First. We've been really fortunate that way. If we didn't have that relationship with those local businesses, if it wasn't for their support, we wouldn't have been able to pivot so quickly.
I love that creativity. And thank you for voting. Meryl, back to you for the appointment of the auditors.
Thank you, Shawn. I hereby move that in compliance with the Credit Union Incorporation Act and regulations, KPMG, Chartered Professional Accountants, be appointed auditors of the credit union for the 2021 fiscal year, and that the Board of Directors be authorized to fix the remuneration of the auditors.
Thank you, Meryl. That motion is seconded by Paul Challoner. So again, we'd like you to vote on the appointment of the auditors. Please vote when you see the motion on your screen. While you vote, we'll play our last video for the evening, showcasing Level Ground Trading, one of our commercial members in our Island Savings region. Level Ground Trading is an organization with strong values, much like First West, and their ability to grow their business has enabled them to make an even bigger impact for good in the world. And I believe our story here at First West is strikingly similar. By becoming a federal credit union and keeping a good thing growing, we believe we'll be able to expand the reach of our cooperative values and make an even bigger positive impact for our members and communities. Have a look.
I didn't realize that they were a multifaceted company that was, purchasing coffee internationally and how complex they actually were. I think they viewed us similar, as that we were just a local, small credit union. I think once they discovered all the lines of business that we have available to us through First West, they were impressed in the fact that we could compete with their financial institution that they were dealing with at the time.
Level Ground Trading is a Vancouver Island-based business. We're 23 years in action, and we got into business primarily to import and roast coffee and tell the stories of small-scale farmers who grow coffee. And so we're committed primarily to a focus on a trade relationship that responds positively to people living in poverty. So small-scale marginalized farmers sell their coffee in their cooperative to Level Ground Trading. We import it, we roast it, we put it out in different formats of packaging to our customers, and the main way that we try to sell that product is to tell the story of the farmers.
When Level Ground took on bigger customers, there were much bigger requirements in terms of systems in place, safety checks in place, quality checks in place. It really required us to up our game. And at the time, there was some worry that by upping your game to serve the big customer, you're gonna forget your little customer. And in fact, the opposite has been the case, because as we made those leaps to new systems and improving the way that we manage our business, we were able to extend that to our smaller customers, and we've all benefited from working really hard to improve and adapt.
We believe that if people understand the relationship that Level Ground is bringing them in the trade, they'll be far more likely to lean into the story and lean into the product as well. We're basically bridging between a producer community and a consumer community and saying, look what happens when you buy this product. There's positive effect taking place.
We came from a big bank. And that big bank, at some point, made a strategic decision to serve customers that were at a different scale than us, and we fell out of their plan. And we needed quickly to replace our financial partnership. Moved to Island Savings, and we met Leslie. It was immediately a different relationship. I mean, certainly we all know that the market is changing at such a rapid rate, and it's really putting us on our toes to make sure that we are ready to adapt. It's really clear to me that as you guys up your game and increase your ability to offer services and systems, that's not going to detract from your heartfelt focus on serving your members locally.
I don't have any concerns that we're going to outgrow our financial partner. And because of that, as Island Savings First West is scaling, we're confident that we can keep on doing the same.
Setting big goals is important. Positivity attracts positivity. And here at Level Ground, we know that reaching for big aspirations is how we get forward momentum and see success. So I'm excited to be partnered with a financial institution that is also making big plans into the future and reaching for big goals.
We have the results of both of the votes conducted earlier, and both motions passed with members in favor both of accepting the auditor's report and the appointment of the auditors for 2021. So now it's time to open up the virtual floor to you, and it's an opportunity to ask questions or make general comments if you wish. And as I said earlier, you can submit questions by clicking the Ask a Question button on the top of the screen. And also, as I said earlier, would appreciate if you'd restrict questions to matters of business concerning First West. And if you have personal questions, our moderator will redirect you to our local president and his leadership team, and they'd be happy to help you with any issues that you have. So I'm going to check to see what questions we have, and we'll go to questions. So our first question is from David from Valley First, and the question is, are any of your assets invested in fossil fuels, for example, pipelines? And I think I'm going to ask Tom Webster to comment on that initially.
Thank you for the question. The short answer is no. Our balance sheet is primarily funding residential loans and commercial loans. The investments that we do hold are for liquidity purposes, and by regulatory reasons, we have to keep them in very safe and liquid instruments. So they're primarily right now in term deposits and Government of Canada securities and provincial securities. No pipelines.
Great, thank you, Tom. All right, looking at other questions here. So thank you, David. The second question from Nick from South Point branch in Envision Financial. And it's about diversity. Diversity is important. Can you share what First West is doing to improve diversity, including at the board? So I'll maybe add a few comments, and then Lonnie, you can comment from the organization as a whole. Just to affirm my shared belief that diversity is important with Nick in the question, I believe as a board that we're better when we're diverse and in all sorts of fashions. And that makes us perform better as a board, make better decisions, have better input and ideas around the table, and it's a really critical part of who we are as an organization. So there's a couple of things that we've been doing as a board to that effect. We have been doing some education as a board in the past year and even previous to that to learn and understand what it means for us to grow and develop our diversity in the room and with the membership around the board table, and that has been excellent. This past year, we've also, as we go through our nominating process, made specific initiatives related to diversity around our board as we look for new directors, and we do have a board policy around diversity that we're aspiring to. And so this past year, we were looking for to add female directors to our board, and we were pleased to see Deborah Buzzard from Kamloops join our board, and she'll be joining after the AGM now. And then finally, I would just like to invite members to assist your board in being diverse, and you can do that by helping us find great candidates who would be well-suited around the board table, and we're always interested and intrigued to get your suggestions of who you might feel would be helpful for us as directors around the board table. So, Lonnie, I don't know if there's something you'd want to add from the organization perspective?
Yeah, I think a couple things I'll add from the organization perspective is we continue to evolve and in fact increase our level of training for all of our employees. We're into, I think, our third year of that. We also look at some other areas in terms of we are evolving how we're doing our recruiting practices so that we can address inherent biases that could go into that process. We've worked with Rick Hansen Foundation to make sure that all of our facilities and our buildings are approved through their criteria so that it's accessible for all individuals. And we have some things we have a group, we have on our intranet, which I talked about earlier, which is our own social networking conversation that we have in our organization. We have set up affinity groups where groups of people who come together because they have shared experiences, shared desires, and they come together to help us address issues that they think we need to look at as an organization. We learn, we take good advice from these affinity groups. So those are just some small examples. They're not small, they're big, but really important examples that we're working on.
Great. Question from Gil in Envision Financial at the Tsawwassen branch. and a question around explaining some of the ways that First West has adapted during the pandemic to support serving our members more safely. So I think there were some comments to that already, but maybe Lonnie, if there's anything you'd want to add on that regard.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we've done, and this is an area that I'm particularly proud of. We have a occupational health and safety group in our organization who just have some amazing talent. But I'll start off, I think, at the very high level. We at First West, for at least 5 years, have had an unlimited sick leave policy. So it's unlimited how many days you need to take off. And as you read about what's going on in the news, that makes a big difference, that our team members know that if they're not feeling well, that they can take the day off easily because it's unlimited sick leave. And that's the beginning to where it starts. But we're very careful in all of our branches, for example, in terms of making sure that our employees come together and fill out the health attestation form about how they're feeling. Everyone wears masks all the time, 6 feet of distancing. We have plexiglass. And I would also encourage the other ways that we've helped to protect you as a member is opened up, as I mentioned, lots of different ways that you can actually do your banking in the safety of your home, through deposit anywhere in terms of depositing checks to online bill payment, or even actually having a virtual call with one of our advisors. So we've tried to do a number of things to help you as our member feel safe and secure, as well as our employees.
Right, I'm just going to see what other questions, and thank you for submitting the questions. Good to have a number of them coming in here. Another question was asked by a member if we plan to keep an employee based on and in residence on Pender Island. So Lonnie, I'll maybe ask you to speak to that.
Yeah, we do. We have one employee, Jen, who's actually on Pender Island, and she's amazing and got tons of great advice she can help you with your banking services, and we're committed to have Jen on the island. So thanks for the question, and reach out to Jen. She'd love to help you.
Great, and a question from, I guess, either from two people, or maybe two people asked the same or similar question. Nick and Teresa from Envision Financial, Tsawwassen branch. So the question is, please explain what our present credit union deposit insurance covers and how different the deposit insurance will be as a federal credit union. And that's a great question, and Lonnie, I'll get you to speak to it in a second, but I'll just make a brief comment to say that there is provincial regulation and federal regulation does have differences in deposit insurance guarantees. And that will be part of what we'll provide a lot more background on in the months leading up to the November vote on continuance. In the province of British Columbia, the deposit level is unlimited, and nationally, the same as what you'd get at a national bank is a $100,000 deposit guarantee. And there are very few members that are affected by that threshold. For those that may be affected, there are many strategies we can do in partnership with our members to mitigate any risk associated with that. And we do know that as being regulated by OSFI and being an organization that is looking to make sure it has a strong, stable balance sheet, there are lots of reasons that members should have confidence in their organization, in their deposits, beyond just what the deposit guarantee is. So I think those are some things, and we'll have an opportunity to talk about that more in many different forums leading up to November, but do appreciate that question. Lonnie, I don't know if there's anything you'd want to add.
No, I think that we've got a comprehensive package that will be coming out to you, and I also encourage you to talk to anybody that you know in your, any advisor you have, or anybody you know in your branch, or give a call to our member advice center, and we've got lots of information we can share with you around the changes that would happen with the deposit regulation.
Great. Next question is from Peter at Envision Financial. And Peter's asking, if First West becomes a federal credit union, will you build branches in other provinces? And that's a great question. One of the things that I think that a lot of members don't appreciate is the challenge of being provincially regulated restricts us and precludes us from engaging in members that may move outside of the province, or business customers that may have projects that they want to do in other parts of the country. And right now, we're very limited in our ability to do that. And so, first and foremost, members expect portability when they think about financial services in Canada, and we want to be able to do that. And that's a core thing of what we're doing. And as we develop our digital channels, we anticipate that will be a way for members who perhaps a student in university in a different province, a business customer working across the country, or a member who happens to move, that they can maintain their connection with their local staff member, their local team member that's helped them and supports them in that way. As we look at the question of branches particularly, at this point, this is a decision to become federally regulated, but it enables all sorts of strategies as we look down the road. We're not planning on branch construction outside of the province at this point, but it does enable us to say, well, what ways will financial services shift and adapt, and how can we be competitive and sort of capably there for our members in many ways as we look down the road, not just limited to the province of BC. I don't know if there's anything you want to add on that as well.
No, again, I will just say that there is a comprehensive package coming, and the only thing that I might add, other than it actually just opens up choice and flexibility, and I think we talked about with increasing competition, increasing digital entrance into the marketplace, and just sustaining a long-term view, the ability to have an ability to, as an organization over the next 3 to 5 to 7 years, to actually look at what those opportunities are and to grow into that, I think is really significant. And the only small other additional thing I would add, Shawn, to what you talked about is even just risk diversification. When you actually can, have more diversification in industries, different provinces behave differently in different economic times and ups and downs and flows, and that all helps us as we continue to look for the future.
Great question. And another question very similar to that, a member from Valley First is asking, what are the benefits of federal regulation for First West? What will be changing, and what are the benefits other than expansion outside of British Columbia? So a great question, or questions. Thank you for that as well. Some of them we've talked to already. Things like risk diversification allows us to be more resilient and strong. OSFI as a regulator is a very strong regulator, and we feel confident that that's helpful for us to be well regulated as a financial institution. We also, as we look at the way financial services are set up with credit unions being provincially regulated, that is essentially solving a historic problem and not really a present reality. So when people think about financial services and what is innovating in the market, to think of that as just being isolated and restricted to provincial boundaries puts us on a competitive disadvantage to many other financial services providers that will or are already in our current marketplaces. And so this will allow us to be more competitive and connected that way. There's a few things that are key to that will not change, and one of them is in our DNA as we are a cooperative. Our values are built on the fact that we are owned by our members. We are democratic, structured. The board represents the members and the well-being of the entire organization. But at our core is our cooperative values and our credit union values, and that doesn't change. Additionally, we want to put members at the center of everything that we do. And our sense of being federally regulated is that it'll allow us to better focus on being competitive and relevant for those local members in every community that we operate. And rather than being at a disadvantage, we feel that we can be setting ourselves up to be putting the right products and services in front of members in those local regions. And then finally, I think you saw it in some of the videos, the ability to be giving back to our communities, to be growing as an organization, to be able to have a bigger impact together with you, our members, on the needs in our communities, I think is also something that'll be a great advantage and part of what will flow as we look to federal continuance. And again, Lonnie, I'll ask if you had anything you want to add as well.
I think, Shawn, you answered it really well. Only maybe one other addition I would add is I think from an employee perspective, we remain committed to be creating an organization where you can grow in your skills, grow in your capability, and I think there's going to be some great career opportunities when you're part of a stable, strong organization financially that is responsibly growing and looking for the future, it means, I think, great opportunities for people to have jobs and for us to give back to the communities and the economies.
Great. Well, I think that might have been the record number of questions that we've had in the last couple of years. So kudos to all of you for paying attention, for being interested in your credit union, and thoughtful about where we are and where we're going. And that's encouraging to me. And I look forward to engaging with all of you and other members as we approach November and we look at our asking you to join us in that yes vote for federal continuance. So thank you for sending in those questions. So with that, that brings us to the end of the First West Credit Union 2020 AGM. And I'd like to thank everyone from attending on this beautiful BC evening. We will be sending all voting members in attendance a short email survey soon after this meeting ends. So I'd ask you to please take a few minutes and fill that out. It's a great opportunity for us to learn how this is working for you and your experience here tonight. And so there being no further business, I hereby declare First West Credit Union's annual general meeting adjourned. Thank you.